What does it mean to live well? Not merely to survive, not merely to prosper, but to truly flourish as a human being. This is the question that Aristotle placed at the center of ethics itself. The Nicomachean Ethics, named for Aristotle's son Nicomacheus, is the most influential treatise on moral philosophy ever written. Composed in the 4th century before Christ, it is not a book of rules or commandments. It is an investigation into the nature of the good life, what Aristotle calls Eudaimonia, often translated as happiness, but meaning something far deeper, human flourishing in its fullest sense. Aristotle begins with a deceptively simple observation. Every art, every inquiry, every action aims at some good. The doctor aims at health. The general aims at victory. The shipbuilder aims at a seaworthy vessel, but is there some ultimate good, some final end to which all others are subordinate? If so, knowledge of this good would be of supreme importance for the conduct of life. That ultimate good, Aristotle argues, is eudaimonia, happiness or flourishing. Not pleasure, not wealth, not honor. These are means to something else, or they satisfy only part of us. Eudaimonia is the one thing we pursue for its own sake and never for the sake of anything beyond it. It is self-sufficient, final, and complete. But what does it consist in? This is where the real investigation begins. Aristotle reasons by analogy. A good flute player is one who plays the flute well. A good carpenter is one who builds well. What then is the function of a human being as such? It cannot be mere life, plants have that. It cannot be perception, animals have that. What is distinctive to humans is the activity of the soul in accordance with reason. The good life, therefore, is a life of rational activity performed excellently, a life of virtue. But what is virtue? Aristotle's answer is the doctrine of the mean. Every virtue is a middle state between two extremes, one of excess and one of deficiency. Courage stands between recklessness and cowardice. Generosity stands between extravagance and miserliness. Temperance stands between self-indulgence and insensibility. The virtuous person finds the right balance not by mathematical calculation, but by practical wisdom shaped through habit and experience. Aristotle catalogues the virtues with the precision of a naturalist. Courage is the mean regarding fear and confidence. Temperance is the mean regarding bodily pleasures. Liberality and magnificence govern the use of wealth on different scales. Proper pride, megalosychia, greatness of soul, is the crown of the virtues, the quality of one who knows their own worth and claims no more and no less. There is even a virtue of wit, the mean between buffoonery and humorlessness. No list of rules can tell you what to do in every situation. This is why Aristotle places Phronsi's practical wisdom at the heart of his ethics. The person of practical wisdom perceives the right thing to do in each particular circumstance. They see what courage requires here and now, what generosity demands in this specific case. Practical wisdom is not theoretical knowledge. It is a kind of moral perception cultivated through years of experience and reflection. Virtue is not innate. No one is born courageous or temperate. Virtue is acquired through practice, through habituation, just as one becomes a builder by building, one becomes just by performing just acts. The young must be trained in good habits before they can understand the reasons behind them. Character is formed long before philosophy begins, but if we are responsible for our character, we need an account of voluntary action. Aristotle distinguishes between voluntary and involuntary acts. Actions done under compulsion or from ignorance are involuntary. Everything else, including choices we make from the character we have formed, is voluntary. We are responsible for who we have become because our character is the sum of our freely chosen actions over a lifetime. Here Aristotle confronts the puzzle that Socrates thought unsolvable. Can a person know what is right and yet do wrong? Socrates said no, all wrongdoing is ignorance. Aristotle disagrees. Acrasia, weakness of will, is real. The person who eats the cake despite knowing they should not is not ignorant. Their appetite has temporarily overruled their reason. Passion can cloud knowledge without destroying it, like a drunken man who can recite proofs but does not truly grasp them. Aristotle devotes the longest section of the Ethics to justice, the master virtue that governs our relations with others. He distinguishes distributive justice, which concerns the fair allocation of goods and honors, from corrective justice, which restores balance after a wrong. Justice is not mere equality, it is proportional, each person receiving what is due according to merit. This distinction between kinds of justice would shape legal philosophy for millennia. The soul has both a moral and an intellectual dimension. Alongside the moral virtues stand 5 intellectual virtues. Scientific knowledge grasps necessary truths, art governs the making of things, practical wisdom guides action, intuition grasps first principles. And the highest, theoretical wisdom, Sophia, contemplates the most divine and eternal truths. Theoretical wisdom, Aristotle will argue, is the supreme human achievement. Aristotle tackles pleasure twice, and his view is nuanced. Pleasure is not the good, but neither is it evil. The right pleasures, taken in the right way, perfect our activities rather than corrupting them. The pleasure of a good conversation enhances the conversation. The pleasure of learning enhances learning. Bad pleasures are those attached to base activities. Pleasure is not an obstacle to virtue, it is its natural companion. Aristotle devotes 2 full books to friendship, more space than any other topic. This is not sentimentality. Friendship, he argues, is essential to the good life. No one would choose to live without friends, even if they had every other good. He distinguishes 3 kinds: friendships of utility, friendships of pleasure, and perfect friendship, the friendship of good people who wish well to each other for the other's own sake. Only this last is friendship in the truest sense, and it is rare because good people are rare. Friendship and justice are deeply connected. Where there is friendship, justice is hardly needed. Friends do not wrong each other. But where justice alone governs, relationships remain cold and calculating. The best political community is one bound by something like friendship, where citizens care for each other's good and not merely their own rights. This insight anticipates the entire communitarian tradition in political philosophy. Is self-love a vice? Common opinion says yes. Aristotle disagrees, but with a crucial distinction. The base person loves themselves in terms of wealth, pleasure, and honor. But the virtuous person loves their own rational nature and acts from their best self. True self-love means wanting the noblest things for yourself. The good person will even sacrifice their life for friends because they prefer a brief moment of intense nobility to a long life of mediocrity. In the final book, Aristotle reaches his most controversial conclusion. If eudaimonia is activity of the soul in accordance with the highest virtue, and the highest virtue is theoretical wisdom, then the most happy life is the life of contemplation, the life of the philosopher. Contemplation is the most continuous, the most self-sufficient, the most pleasant, and the most divine of all activities. In contemplating eternal truths, humans participate in something godlike, but Aristotle pulls back from pure contemplation. We are not gods. We are political animals who need food, friends, and a well-ordered city. Ethics naturally leads to politics. The ethics ends by pointing toward the politics. The good life requires not only personal virtue but a just society that cultivates virtue in its citizens. Individual excellence and collective justice are inseparable. The final pages argue that moral education requires good laws. Reason alone cannot make people virtuous. Most people are guided by pleasure and pain, not by noble ideals. Laws provide the external compulsion that trains citizens in good habits until those habits become second nature. The true statesman is therefore the one who makes the citizens good through legislation. Thomas Aquinas encountered the Nicomachean Ethics through newly translated Latin editions in the 13th century, and it transformed Christian moral theology. In the Summa Theologica, Aquinas built his entire ethical framework on Aristotle's foundation. He accepted the doctrine of the mean, the primacy of practical wisdom, and the centrality of virtue. But he Christianized Aristotle by adding 3 theological virtues, faith, hope, and charity, to Aristotle's cardinal 4 of courage, temperance, justice, and prudence. Where Aristotle made contemplation the highest good, Aquinas made the beatific vision, direct sight of God, the ultimate end of human life. Aquinas' synthesis became the official moral philosophy of the Catholic Church. The Nicomachean Ethics became required reading in every medieval university. The Dominican order championed Aristotle's ethics as compatible with Scripture, while the Franciscans remained suspicious. This debate, whether pagan philosophy could serve Christian truth, shaped the intellectual landscape of Europe for 3 centuries. Aristotle's Ethics 1, absorbed into the fabric of Western moral education through Aquinas' extraordinary act of synthesis. The Nicomachean Ethics remains the starting point of every serious discussion of virtue, character, and the good life. Its influence runs through Aquinas and the Scholastics, through the Scottish Enlightenment, through the modern revival of virtue ethics in the 20th century. When we speak of moral character, of practical wisdom, of flourishing, we are speaking in Aristotle's language, whether we know it or not. 2,400 years later, no one has asked the question better: what does it mean to live well?